In the center of attention is Isabel Bayrakdarian. Isabel, hi. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and we're honored to be able to speak with you and hear, some interesting stories about you and your career. And we have a few questions about the Armenian music. So, but before we get to all of this, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm soprano Isabel Bayrakdarian. I currently live in Santa Barbara. I teach at the University of California in Santa Barbara. And I started singing in church from a very young age. My mom was the choir director. This is happening in Lebanon. I was born in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. And my mom was the choir director, so I was always dragged to church from a very young age. So, and I had to sing with the choir, the adults. And so Armenian church music really is one of the first melodies that has been imprinted in my soul, in my heart, and in my mind. And it's beautiful because it continues to be the guiding light in everything I do. So I grew up singing and really falling in love with the Armenian church music. There has always been curiosity about it, learning more. As a matter of fact, the reason why I started taking singing lessons was because, the church music is not easy, meaning the temperature is high, there are long lines, because we sing in Karapar. Mm-hmm. And, Karapar, it is the encapsulation of the essence of a word, in which means you have maybe on some pages of music, one word, amen, or hayr, that go on for at least 10 bars on just one word. And if you don't have the technique, then you are forced sometimes to take a breath in between this word. The way I see it, when you speak with somebody, you don't interrupt in the middle of a word. You finish a word. So if you're communicating with God, then you have to finish the word. You have to communicate the same way. Yeah. So truly, that was my intention, is to start singing lessons. Now, the context of how I started to take singing lessons is also unusual. My path, I should say, is very unusual. It's not the usual path of an opera singer. So I actually have a biomedical engineering degree. I went when we immigrated from Lebanon because of the war to Canada. Mm-hmm. I was a young 14-year-old actually, and I was always good in the maths and sciences, and arts for me, singing, etc., was always a hobby. Right? In Lebanon, you're really not concerned about singing. Yeah. You're in Lebanon during the war. It's all about survival.
Of course, it's not a priority.
No. So you go to, when I was in Canada, I wanted to apply what I knew I was very good at, which was the maths and sciences, and I applied it to studying engineering. And again, why didn't I choose aerospace engineering, which I also love? To this day, I love space and everything. Why didn't I choose, civil engineering? I wanted to be with people. So biomedical engineering was like, okay, at least I'm working with people and helping people. So that was my guiding light. When I was in engineering, it was very technical, and it was a very dry environment, obviously. Yeah. And I really missed the artistic outlet that I'd had all my life. So I started to take singing lessons just for fun, just so that I could improve my singing. Where? Improve my singing in church, so that I wouldn't be afraid anymore of my voice cracking, because it's difficult. It really is difficult music.
This is while being a student?
Yes, engineering. Yes.
Okay.
And I took singing lessons. But what happened was that I should also preface this by saying it's not that at 17 years old, all of a sudden I became a musician. No, I grew up playing the piano. Mm-hmm. I grew up singing, so I knew how to read notes. I had theory background.
Yeah, you had the foundation.
I had the foundation without even knowing I had the foundation for it, and especially languages. I had languages, which is such a big skill and an asset when you are an opera singer. What happened when I was taking these singing lessons, I needed a place to practice them, right, to perform them. And if you're not a music major, you're an engineering major, you really don't have many spaces or opportunities to practice or perform. So the only platforms for me to perform were competitions. So I entered voice competitions. So imagine my surprise. I started winning not second, not third, but first prizes. And it's like, okay, I did the local, regional, I won. And then I went to the national, I won that too. It just became, okay, then I should get into international competitions.
Yeah.
And the ultimate was, of course, when I was in my fourth year of engineering, the last year, I won the Metropolitan Opera competition. The poster's right
Wow.
behind
Yeah.
it happens to be. And I won that competition. Which was really a game changer in the sense that agents heard me, managers heard me, opera companies heard me, and were, who is she?
Yeah.
You know, what
Out of nowhere, you know.
Under? Like, how come we've never heard of her?
Yeah.
Because I didn't come from the traditional path of, you get a bachelor's in music, then you get a master's in music, then you get a doctorate in music, then you go to do an opera. I didn't do all of that.
Yeah.
I was just driven by passion, you know?
Yeah.
Instinct. More than that, it was instinct. My instinct led. And again, I did graduate from engineering. I'm very happy to say, even though it took every bit of determination at that point to finish the degree, because I had all these beautiful offers to sing in opera, and that's how my career started. Because I really wanted to sing better in church, and I wanted to communicate. And so behind singing better in church, there's also the fact that I want to be fearless in my communication with God. How about that? Because when you're praying, you're talking to God. And if your mind is worried about, oh, am I going to make this note? Or am I going to make this phrase? Then there's fear blocking a communication. And I wanted to release that fear so that I was fearless and free, speaking with my Papa in heaven. You know, it's really that. Really comes. The essence is that.
When you were here at St. Leon Cathedral and you had this lecture at Reclaim Conference here, and you said very interesting thing that not many people sometimes think about, that when the singer is performing not spiritual music, that's performance. That's from the singer's heart to the audience's heart, right? I'm maybe not using the exact words, but that was the idea. But when the singer is singing spiritual music, that's not really a performance in the first place. That's a prayer, because all Armenian music is mainly all prayer. Sharakanner, the liturgical parts. And so how do you change that? Like when you go to the stage and maybe you perform a couple of things from Komitas, and then a Sharakan. How do you make that switch?
Very interestingly, there's no switch, because whatever I do on stage comes from an authentic place. There's no switch. There's no mask that's put on me when I sing spiritual music versus singing non-sacred music, secular music.
Yeah.
There's no mask. It's me coming from a place of authenticity, meaning, and together with authenticity is communication. Who's my audience? Okay, in secular music, the audience is you, the listener is my audience. In sacred music, it's your soul who's my audience, because this is a soul connection. Okay, it's your soul connecting with your soul and connecting with God. So it's this happening. It's very different. There, in many ways, in spiritual singing, there is no me. There's no me. There's the conduit. I'm just a conduit. The secular repertoire, it's more of my whims and my spontaneity at that moment. That's the spark. That's the spark of the creativity. So, and that is meant to go to you and spark something in the listener. So it's a different thing, but it all comes from the need to communicate and communicate authentically, not put on any airs, not put on any mask, so that it's always me on stage interpreting different repertoire. One goes directly to my soul, to your soul, and one goes from my soul to you, to your ears, and wherever it needs to go within the listener to either elate you, make you happy, make you pensive, think, whatever it is. You see?
Yeah. As the follow-up question is, you performed on the greatest international stages. Have you ever performed an Armenian religious songs to the people who do not understand Armenian? And what do you think their perception of Armenian music is?
Oh my gosh, I do this all the time. As recently as in October, I sang at the Aurora Humanitarian Prize ceremony in Sanazzaro, Italy. It was an entire program of Armenian sacred music dedicated to Asfazamai, the Mother of God.
And you have an album dedicated to her.
Well, yes, of course. There's that too, and as a matter of fact, a lot of my recent projects have centered around using the platform I have achieved after 25 years in the industry to now perform repertoire. Number one, that is very close to my heart. Something that almost something like God has planted within me long time ago, from the moment I was born, in order for me to do them right now. Like I can't explain the urgency that I feel. You must do it. I must do it. I must. These are little projects here in my heart. So coming back to my platform right now is to celebrate my identity and use the platform to raise awareness. So it's not just about me, but behind me there's a beautiful nation, long, thousand-year-old, 2,000, more than that nation. Of course, we have the Christian legacy behind us, but the legacy of, for example, the history, right? In 2020, I released the album Cleopatra, the other Cleopatra, Queen of Armenia, which again was part of my research here at UCSB, one of the many research projects. And that is just to raise one single awareness that we have these titans of Baroque music, Vivaldi, Gluck, Hassa, and more actually, Scarlatti as well, who wrote about our king, Dikran Med.
I had no idea. I had no clue on that.
Not many Armenians know that. Not many, even I didn't know that. And Il Tigrane, which means Dikran. Il Tigrane. So they were fascinated in the 16th century, in the 17th century. Italian librettists were fascinated with our king, and of course, using some historical background, weaved together a libretto that really intrigued these composers to write operas about. Now, of course, when I found this out, I immediately wanted to say, is there a role in here that suits me? Tigran obviously didn't, because it is either a male role or it's a pants role, meaning like it's a woman singing the role of a man. But of course, I'm a soprano, so that didn't apply to me. However, I found out that his wife was Cleopatra, but not the Cleopatra of Egypt that we know of, which coincidentally 15 years ago I had recorded another recording about the Cleopatra of Egypt. So now it was an amazing circle to come back and record about Cleopatra of Pontus. Pontus who who is the daughter of Mitridate, upon whom Mozart has written opera Mitridate Re di Ponto. And then this Cleopatra was married to our Dikran Med, and interestingly, their son fell in love with the Cleopatra of Egypt. But Cleopatra of Egypt had him executed. That's another thing. So all these projects that raises awareness about what an ancient civilization Armenians are, and also for us Armenians to acknowledge and embrace our past, our treasures, our culture, and each one of us does their part to preserve it and to propagate it. That's important. Preservation, but also propagation. What does propagation mean? The children, the next generation, the youth, instilling in them the same kind of pride, the same kind of need and necessity to preserve their identity, which brings me to another project that I released last year, which is Armenian Songs for Children. Again, it involves a lot of research, and these are all released on international labels, of course, specifically, so that it's not only to Armenian audiences, so that it's also for, not also, but it's for the general audience, who is probably at this point sick and tired of hearing same things again and again and again and again after almost 90 years of recording catalogs, right? We're all looking for the new. We're all looking for something that's going to relate to this new world of inclusion, of celebrating uniqueness. Whereas before everything was muted down, we're living in a new age where it's okay to be a minority. Actually celebrate the fact that you're a minority. Celebrate the fact that you have a distinct culture that sets you apart and makes you proud of who you are and where you come from, right? No need to be silent. No need to be silent, or the need to mute yourself. So this Armenian Songs for Children was exactly that, because it's not the songs that we sing right now. It's the children's songs that our ancestors sang in our ancestral homeland. So, and preserving that and making that come to life, because how did I get about to this music? It was transcribed from the survivors of the genocide. And they lived on these lands, on these ancestral lands, before being driven out. So to have this is beautiful historical nugget to bring to life, to sing, in essence, to give voices were silenced. Why? They were silenced because of their race, because of their religion, because of their identity. Again, it comes back to the huge diversity, equity, and inclusion that we're all aiming towards right now in our current society. And so I'm happy to say that I have many projects in the pipeline to along the lines of putting a spotlight and celebrating Armenian culture and new, like, you know what I mean? It's just like introducing something new to our realm. It's for our children also to hear this music and to be able to sing them again, so that they sing it to their kids. And this propagates. Again, this continues.
It's interesting. In my mind, when you're describing what Armenian music can do, it's like a stage. It's a platform where Armenian nation can stand and walk along with the rest of the Western civilization in terms of having masters like Mozart and Vivaldi who know about Armenian history, and they involved all this into their works and talk about that. It's amazing. How has your involvement with Armenian music impacted your career and life as a performer personally?
It comes back to the authenticity comment I made earlier. I mean, this issue of identity came up very early. very, very early, when I chose to keep my last name as my stage name.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking 25 years ago. The world was a very different place 25 years ago. It wasn't as accepting as it is now. To have a long last name, difficult, complicated last name,
That's true.
like Bayrakdarian.
Even for some
everybody.
Armenians.
It was a conscious, and I clearly remember the moment I said, I'm not going to change who I am. This is who I am. I clearly remember at the age of, I think 20, very early, when I had the choice to use a stage name or not. I wanted to go with who I am, being proud of who I am. And that has influenced everything from what I have programmed in my recitals, what I program to sing, even when I'm not singing Armenian repertoire, what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to characters, to operatic characters who are realistic. That I can identify with. Isabel, can identify with. So even the heroines that I sing, they're not these divas. Interestingly, the roles that I sing, even if I'm the prima donna, meaning the first lady of the opera,
yes,
it is either a comical role or it's either the servant or something. It's I'm never the diva that walks on stage and claims the big aria. I was never drawn to that, because I didn't identify with these bigger than life characters. I like being real. So again, that distills to my need to be authentic no matter what.
And I think the audience appreciates that a lot. They can see the difference.
I lead a happy life. How about that? You know what I mean? That's the key. That's the key. To have peace inside and to know that you did the choices you did according to your conscience, not according to needs of others or expectation of others. That you did this with your heart. So yes, it has influenced what roles I sing, where I sing, with whom I collaborate. And it has led me down the unexpected path, and not the traditional path. Because the traditional path is, okay, it's expected, it's written, it's with formulas. I don't like that. I like following my own instinct, because it has a way of taking me in unexpected routes. Basically, it has a way of taking me where God has always wanted me to go, not where my mind wants to go. And there's no other path, there's no other better path than that, following your destiny. Like, can you imagine, like, knowing what your destiny, trusting that the path is taking you along your destiny to fulfill your destiny. And you don't fulfill your destiny by following your mind. You fulfill your destiny by following your heart and your instinct.
So is this what creates the style? Because my next question was, how do you approach this, classical works and give your interpretation to this? But from your answer, basically you put your identity in the work, and that creates your interpretation. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Because you can't go wrong if you put your identity in it. Why? Because I'm who I am. I own myself. I know who I am. And if I find relevance with who I am in a role or any project, then I'm not wrong. Then whatever I do is going to come across as realistic, and you're going to believe it. And that's entertainment, isn't it?
Yes.
It's fake, but you accept it as real, right?
Yeah.
Going to the movies, it's fake, but then your heart still races when it's the tense moment. Right?
That's such a good explanation of that. Wow. Isabel, you mentioned upcoming projects. Can you discuss any particular collaboration or projects you have undertaken that have helped, to promote and bring awareness to the Armenian music on global stage, and also something that's coming up that you have in
Sure.
mind?
So as I mentioned, if you look at my discography, it's actually quite diverse.
Mm-hmm.
It started my whole discography. Currently, actually, I have 25 CDs. The very first CD happened to be an Armenian CD, an Armenian sacred music CD, which is Joyous Light, Louis Zabar.
Mm-hmm.
That really started everything. And I feel that's almost in many ways a blessing that my whole career was anointed with the sacred music, and I am proud of that. And throughout the years, of course, I've done a recording of Armenian sacred music dedicated to Mary, which I'm happy to say there's going to be another volume coming up in the near future, another sacred music compilation, again, of unknown repertoire. That's almost happening. My mantra now is to unearth gems. It's to discover lost treasures and then present them. Because again, there's such diverse discography in the world right now. It's not really interesting anymore to rehash, to represent the ones that are already out there. It's just showing off then. You're like, hey, look at what I'm going to do with this one.
Yeah.
There's really not a point in that. Whereas if you find something new and present it, then that's education. That's opening up your horizon, something new to you and to the listener. So there's this beautiful, very, very interesting. I can't say more, okay? It has to come out before I elaborate on the exact details. There's, of course, another, so there's the sacred music, Armenian sacred music project coming up. There's another Armenian children's song project being in the camp for being recorded. There's an Armenian art song project in the works. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. It's truly to have the ability to both do the research, to curate a program, to do all the logistics of arrangements, doing the musical arrangements, to doing the logistics of the recording sessions, and then having that release, and then do performances. It's just It's like I'm in a child in a little paradise toy store with this. It just yeah.
It's and we're also excited that on the January 22nd, which is Sunday at 7 p.m., we will be having you along with Maestro Konstantin Orbelian and Los Angeles Virtuosi Orchestra, and you will be performing. You mentioned Il Tigran and some other works. Can you please tell us a little more about that?
Of course. So when I recorded the Cleopatra, the other Cleopatra, Queen of Armenia, it was with Konstantin Orbelian conducting. So the release happened exactly when COVID hit. We were supposed to do so many performances of this in the States and Canada. There were so many, everything was canceled.
Yeah.
So, I said before, I wanted to give voice to voice that, but COVID silenced it this time. So this is kind of the restart of it, of the project. So we are repeating a couple of arias from those Baroque operas. And I wanted to add some newly arranged songs by Komitas and Khachaturian for chamber orchestra. And our orchestra is, as you mentioned, Love. I love that its acronym is LOVE.
Yeah.
It's Love Orchestra, Los Angeles Virtuosi Orchestra. I like that. They will be accompanying. It's a beautiful program again that celebrates not only Armenian music, but the leaders, the in many ways, those who support the arts, those who believe in the arts, those who, for example, when Serfazan Hovnan Derderian approached me with this, I've known Serfazan since I was a teenager in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So I've known him for 25 years almost. And he's always been so supportive, not only of myself and other artists, but of the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And the occasion, of course, I immediately thought of celebrating leaders, celebrating Armenian leaders,
mm-hmm.
or those who are the standard bearers of or the supporters of culture.
It's easy to be fascinated with the performance and the music, but to oversee the people who are standing behind and supporting the effort. I agree with you.
Absolutely, and this would not have been possible without Serfazan's vision
mm-hmm.
and faith. I'm always humbled by the faith he has in me, and I am truly humbled that the many projects we've done with the diocese, of course, have been tremendous successes, and extremely rewarding for me to perform and to make it come to life. So, like I said, in the past, he has very much supported their materialization for them for the manifestation, for them to come alive.
Yes.
And I'm truly grateful to him for that and his wonderful team, and you're one of them. So I really appreciate you all working so tirelessly and hard, make every concert not only success, but also an educational experience. Honestly, I've come to the stage in my life where I realize it's not all about entertainment. You've got to have an educational element
mm-hmm.
in everything.
Mm-hmm.
You need to grow. We all need to grow. We can't just stay where we are and rest on our laurels, because Armenians can do that indeed.
Yeah.
We have such great history, such hazor, tremendous riches behind it. We can easily just sit on it, but we have to keep creating, keep growing. And the way to do that is not only for your own growth, but to bring people along with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that as artists by opening the horizon of your audience, giving them something they know, but then also introducing something they may not know, and also include something they absolutely don't know, so that it is an education process. It's like being a teacher, huh? So.
Dear Isabel, I know that you're now you're at your work. You're talking from I guess your office, and I know that you're busy. But I want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity that you share with us, and I hope to see you soon. You will be coming here again, January 22nd, Sunday at 7 p.m. We will be having a concert with world-renowned soprano Isabel Bayrakdarian, Maestro Konstantin Orbelian, conductor, and Los Angeles Virtuosi Orchestra. And we're looking forward to this beautiful, beautiful event. Thank you. Thanks again, and all the best to you, Isabel.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Seeing you.